Alright, today let's talk about 10 Instagram tips and tricks for photographers in 2022 that you can use to spice up your Instagram account. So let's get started. Okay, so what's up and welcome back to another video on this channel, and I hope you had a fantastic day. And yes, in this video it's time to talk about a couple of things that you can use to improve your Instagram output as a photographer. And I personally use all these tips and tricks all the time to improve my content as well, so that's why I want to share them with you so you can use them too. And first let's start with one of my favorite things that you can do to improve your own content as a photographer, and here I'm talking about adding some photo information like the EXIF data to your posts. So all kind of things like your camera settings, your equipment and so on. What I notice is that a lot of people always want to know how to achieve certain shots, and in my opinion it's a great way to learn a couple of new things as a beginner photographer. So if you share these details, you simply add some value to your Instagram posts, simple and fast, and that should be your main goal if you want to share your content on social media pages at all. To add this information you can easily use the description, or what I always use is my EXIF camera settings template to add the EXIF data straight onto my photos. I will link the template down in the first comment, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. The second tip that I want to share with you guys is to set a niche. And yes, I know it is hard to stick to a niche, but if you want to start your own Instagram page, one of the most important things is to set a focus. I actually personally had a couple of pages where I started to post all kind of things, but in the end it actually was a waste of time because no one was actually interested in this kind of content that was all over the place. But in contrast to that, my main page that actually sets a straight focus started to grow, and of course if you set a focus on a certain topic, you're part of a community. So in this case it is way more likely that more and more people are interested to check out your content because of this niche. So what you need to do is to just start to create. Don't just spam a lot of content, instead set a focus on value. And here I'm talking about something like funny things or tutorials, tips and tricks and all these kind of things. Because yeah, in the end these are the most fundamental basics for your page. On top, another quick tip here is don't be afraid to check out other creators in your niche as well. Maybe you can learn something that you can use to create better content for your own audience, or at least you will find some cool people in your community. So yeah, always try to improve the quality of your content and use the community feedback to see what you can improve. And yes, again, you can also check out other creators as well, because if you notice that a lot of people don't like certain videos in your niche, you can easily use that knowledge to produce different videos. So yeah, basically in the end, if you actually just want to set your focus on growing your page, I highly recommend to find a niche and stay focused over a long period of time. Don't pick something just because it's trendy, pick a topic that you actually like and keep posting your content. That's one of the best things that you can do if you want to get started on Instagram. But now let's move on to another tip that you can use to improve your content, and here you can easily use before and after shots to share more insights. And yes, especially as a photographer, you mostly edit your raw files before you share them, and one of the most interesting things is the difference between the raw file and the final result. And to create those before and after shots you can easily use Photoshop, or you can use the before and after tool in Lightroom to make a screenshot. On top, in most cases I highly recommend to add some more details about it and to explain a couple of things. Or what I really like to do is to combine it with the EXIF data as well. So yeah, maybe think about to share a couple of steps from your own workflow with your community. Another really important topic that we need to talk about is all about hashtags, and especially in this case I highly recommend to use a variety of hashtags. So don't just stick to a couple of hashtag lists, instead actually try to find new and different hashtags for your posts from time to time. But another really important tip here is to not just use these big and extreme small hashtags. Instead set your focus on medium size hashtags, because it is in this case way more likely that your post will get some more traction. In the end, if you use big hashtags, it is possible that you simply share your post and it's just gone because a lot of people use these hashtags. And on the other hand, if you use hashtags that are really small, it is possible that no one sees your post. So yeah, maybe set your focus on medium-sized hashtags to increase the chance that people and brands can get in touch with your content. But now let's move on with tip number 5, and the next content tip is all about behind the scenes. One of the best additional things that you can share as a photographer is behind the scenes content. So for example, before and after shots that I already mentioned, or how you can get certain shots. I personally always like to use my GoPro, for example, to create these POV episodes that I always share here on YouTube or on Instagram. And that is always helpful, especially for people who want to get started, or if they are searching for some photo ideas, for example. So if you're out there to take some photos, maybe think about to create some behind the scenes content to share some more insights in your Instagram feed and stories. Next, let's talk about export settings, because yeah, especially if you want to stand out on Instagram, you should care about high quality uploads. And yes, you can easily make it way harder for you to achieve a certain image quality on Instagram if you use the wrong export settings. So yeah, let me show you my Instagram export settings in Lightroom. And here I always use JPEG to compress my final edit all the way down, but, and this is really important, I always use the highest output quality. A couple of people actually say that they lower the output quality a little bit, but what I notice is that Instagram will compress the image again to make them as small as possible, so I don't want to lower the quality right in advance. Another setting that I use is the sRGB option right here, because most web browsers use that to display images, but however, I've read an article that Instagram supports the display P3 option now as well, so maybe give it a try to see what you like the most. But of course you can easily use the sRGB option, this just works. Next, let's talk about the picture size, and this is another really important step if you want to upload your images to Instagram. And Instagram recommends to use at least a short edge with 1080 pixels for portraits, and for landscapes a long edge with 1080 pixels. Otherwise again, Instagram will do it for you, and that's something we definitely want to avoid. So be sure that you avoid any images that won't fit their guidelines. On top, I mostly use a 4:5 crop for my images as well, but you can easily use a 1:1 crop too. And yes, of course, in the end, all these steps may require some more work, but I think it's actually worth it, and if you do it, you shouldn't see any unexpected changes when you upload your images. But there's actually one last step that can ruin the whole upload as well. Another really important step is how you upload the image. If you use your computer, you won't have any problems at all, but if you use your phone to do that, you need to think about how you send the image to your phone, because yes, you need to avoid additional compression here as well. In the end, if you send the photo via email or messenger to your photo gets compressed again, and that leads to a lower quality. So instead, use a cloud system, AirDrop, or simply connect your phone to your computer and import the files that you want to use to avoid this additional compression. And yes, as I started, I made this mistake a lot, and I never knew why the image always gets worse, but the reason was simply the additional compression, and it's super easy to avoid that. But now let's move on to the next tip, number 7, and this one is all about stories. So yeah, in the end, if you upload a new post, share it in your story. If you want to share some cool things, use stories or reels. There are a lot of things that you can do to increase your output on Instagram, and the only thing that you need to do is to just get started. So yeah, maybe ask some questions, or again, share some behind the scenes tips and tricks and all these kind of things. Instagram actually supports all these things with a lot of features, so it is actually really easy to use them, and that's why this is such a great opportunity for everyone to create some cool things. And that leads us to another really important topic. Don't be afraid to try new things. What I really like to do is to just scroll through the feed to see what other people are doing, and whenever I notice something that I really like, I mostly give it a try. Instagram and YouTube are actually one of the best platforms to get inspired, because there are so many creators out there and they all share great shorts, reels and stories. So yeah, in the end, you just need to check them out to find some inspiration, and the rest is to just get started. Okay, but now let's move on with tip number 9. And I know a lot of people say gear doesn't matter, but actually in most cases that's not true. For sure, you can create some good content with an old smartphone or an old camera, don't get me wrong here, but especially if you want to move on and improve your content, you need to invest in better gear. And yes, again, that doesn't mean that you need to buy an expensive camera right now, but for example, if you want to take long exposure shots, maybe invest in a good tripod, or maybe you should get a new lens to make it easier for you to take better photos of those animals. So what I want to say is that set your focus on improving the quality of your content all the time. Always use the best gear that you have, and if your gear is actually holding you back, maybe think about to buy some new stuff. And now it's time for tip number 10, and this one is all about what kind of content you would like to check out. So yeah, another really important tip that I want to share with you is to post on a regular basis and to set your focus on content that you like to check out. And yeah, especially if you're just getting started, I highly recommend to post at least once a day. I always stick to my daily posts on Instagram because I really like the overall interaction, and on top, yeah, Instagram is next to TikTok a platform where you can consume a lot of content really fast. So in most cases it's not a good idea to post just once a week or so. But the most important factor is that you can stick to your posting schedule. So don't just post daily if that's not possible. So yeah, in the end, think about what you want to do and how much time you need to create good content. Actually set up a schedule that you want to follow that fits into your daily life, and then stick to it. And as I already mentioned, it is really important to post content that you would like to check out. Never post content that you don't like, or if you know that you can create a better version in the next couple of days. One of the main tips is actually, if you just care about those growing numbers and if you care less about creating good content, you will have a problem in the long run, because you will slowly lose interest in creating good content that matters. So don't set your focus too much on those numbers, especially if you're just getting started. Okay, so the question of the day is, what kind of content do you share on Instagram? Let me know that in the comments. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new here, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay updated for our upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.